Hi everyone, I am Apostos Besas. I'm going to talk to you about Transifex and how to localize your application. So, we are in Europe, in Belgium, and as you all know, there are so many languages spoken just in Europe. Uh, however, yeah. Uh, h- However, as developers, we write software and we mainly use English. Uh, there are two processes: the internationalization, localization. These two processes, which are about adapting your software to multiple language cultures. We all know how important this is, since very few people speak English actually in the general population. Sorry. Okay. So for internationalization, there are many formats that are used in the software world. These are just some examples. The most popular one, especially for open source software, is the first one, the POPOT files. But for Qt software, there are TS files, and other languages and platforms use their own formats, like Java, Android, and Apple. The process to localize your application is actually very straightforward. First of all, you need to mark your strings accordingly, your user visible strings. The specific examples I use are for Python and for the PO format. So in Python, generally for the getText format, you need to import to use the getText functions, family of functions, and you mark your strings with the user notations with the underscore and the brackets. So the first step is to mark your strings accordingly in your source code. The second step is to extract all those strings. In the getText world, you use the getText program over your source code. The third step is just to translate all those files in each language you want it translated to. The fourth step is to create the binary files for the translations, and the fifth step is just to release the whole thing, the source code along with the localization files. However, in these five steps, there is one that is very tricky. How are you going to translate them? I mean, we're developers. It's easy for us to just mark the strings and run xgetx and msgfmt over the source code. But how are you going to translate them? First of all, you need translate and yeah, okay. First of all, you need translators. The usual process is just to have the PO files somewhere in the repo and maybe send emails to your translators and let all your translators coordinate, talk with each other on who's going to work on what, when, and send those emails back, and the whole thing is a mess. And this is a process which has to be done for every release, so it's not very nice. This is where Transifex actually fits in. Transifex itself is an open source project and supports quite a lot of features that are targeted for this thing. Transifex is best described as an open source localization management tool. It offers various features for both developers and translators. For example, it offers features for developers to manage their teams and for the members of the teams to communicate with each other. It supports the management of the workflow, of the whole workflow of the releasing a new version of your software with respect to translations. It offers features for quality control, like reviews. You can review strings and have only the reviewed ones accepted. It also provides tools for translators, like an online web editor to edit translations. It can also pull from your repo automatically, so you just set up Transifex. You point it to your repository, like in GitHub or whatever, and have Transifex pull your PO files automatically and update all those resources. You can also use many forms in the same project, and with Transifex, it is very easy for developers to contribute to your translations. The process is very easy, and also offers some translation memory, which allows you to use previously matched translations for the strings you want. Anyway, for translators, the whole process is very easy. You just, first of all, you create a new project. You set up the slug, the name of the project, a small description, and you choose the language and the source language. The source language is the language that is used in your source code. I guess mostly English for us. Anyway, as soon as you create your project, then the whole process of doing the translations, of managing the translations, is quite simple. on the one hand, you're the developer. On the other side, they're the translators. So the first thing you do is to upload your source file to Transifex. Transifex will automatically extract your PO file, I mean, there. Transifex will automatically extract the strings from there and will notify all your translators to start contributing to that to the particular project, to start translating. Translators start translating, and whenever they are ready, the translation is 100% complete. You just put the translations to your repository and release your software. There's also a web CLI client, a command line client for this to help the developers automate the process, where you just push a resource, push a file. Like in this example, this is for the Transifex project itself, where for example, you push the Django.po file. And when you are done, you just pull a particular language or main languages, whatever you want. For translators, there is also a web editor where I'm not sure. Okay. For translators, they can use a particular web editor to start translating things. It offers various features, like searching for a particular string or using an autocomplete. There are also suggestions and stuff. Or, of course, they can use their own favorite tool, like Localize for TS projects, for Qt projects. Transifex itself is written in Python, so it is just a web application for now. To install it, you just do a Python setup install. It's also, yeah, okay. Transifex itself is used by many open source projects. The most prominent ones are Fedora, Django, and Migo. It's also used by the Joomla Open Translators community to translate the Joomla extensions. It all started with Fedora, actually. Huh, okay, that was fast. And these are the main links for the project. The code itself is open source. So you can just, right now it is hosted in Bitbucket, so you can just download it from code.indifex.com/transifex. Transifex itself is an open source project, so you can set it up on your own server. There's a community edition for that, but it's also offered as a software as a service project in www.transifex.net. If you use it for your project or want to contribute or whatever, and have questions, want to hang out, we are in the Transifex channel on Freenode. There's also a mailing list in Google Groups, and there's also the help.transifex.net. Okay, so to sum up, Transifex is an open source tool. It can be used by developers to ease the whole translation management process. You can set it up yourselves, or you can just use the www.transifex.net version, which is free for open source projects, but can be used by closed source projects as well. Okay, that was it. Any questions? Okay, so, sorry. Yeah.
What are you planning on adding in terms of features or user interaction design or workflow facilitation in future versions?
Okay.
Basically, some insight in the roadmap.
Okay. Currently, the main focus is one of the areas that have focus right now is the process of making the whole website, at least the Transifex.net, easier to use. Because there are many things that are a bit tricky, especially for new users and for developers. Okay. In the long-term roadmap, we plan to rewrite Lotte, the online translation editor, to make it easier for translators and be more powerful and have way more features. There's also an update coming in the next few days, probably, after FOSDEM is done and we have time, which was mostly about the formats handling code. Many performance improvements, especially for the larger the file is, the translation files are. More powerful. What else? Let me think. There's also a whole Auto design, exactly. A way to make the whole process easier for developers of how you want to define your translation files and how you're going to communicate with your users that you want to start translating now, and how can I say this? Anyway, to notify your users that right now we are ready, let's start translating, and have translators come and start translating stuff, and for you to get all those translations back. Mainly for the next month at least. Also the client will receive some work quite soon because right now it's in a bit, it's not in a very good state regarding its code. Okay, you're welcome. Anything else? Okay, thank you for coming.